Hey, what's up guys? Silver here with another Spartan Assault Achievement Guide. This time we're doing Archeology, which is Complete Operation F. Some general tips if you're having trouble with any of the missions throughout the game is to put on some boosters or get better weapons to start the mission. And to do that, you want to select the mission you want to do, and then you'll come to this screen, the Armory. And as you can see, it shows your loadout where you're going to start the mission with. So you have your primary weapon, secondary weapon, armor ability, and booster. So you can see I clicked on my primary weapon, which was an assault rifle, but we could upgrade it to a sniper, a Spartan laser, or a rocket launcher. And the way you could do that is by using XP that you've gathered by playing the game just naturally over time, and you could select better weapons and boosters and everything before you start a mission if you're having trouble with a particular mission. So same thing with the secondary weapon, we could upgrade that to any of those weapons as well. And then you have your armor ability, which you could change. In the video here, it's showing regen field as the default armor ability, but that will change based on whatever mission you're playing. But we could actually change it to an auto sentry, overshield, or seeker drone. And then also the booster we could change to a shield booster, damage booster, or score booster. I would recommend a damage booster if you're having trouble. It makes your weapons more powerful, no matter what they are. So it's easier to just tear through the enemies, and that obviously makes it way less likely that they'll be able to kill you. And you can also see that my profile allows for one free use of some of these items because of the fact that I got certain achievements in Halo 4. But for someone that has never played Halo 4, that will not be available, unfortunately. So now that that's out of the way, a general tip for shooting is to just simply use both joysticks. One controls where you're moving, and you could still shoot with just that one joystick, but it is way less accurate than if you use both joysticks. The only downside is you actually move slower if you're using both joysticks, so just throwing that out there. I know some people have trouble with this game, but it's much easier if you're aware of that. So with that in mind, let's get into it. We're coming in hot here in a drop pod to start off this mission. We're going to splatter a couple grunts as we land. Then we're going to move to the left. There's 3 grunts. We could take them out either by shooting them with a shotgun or just go up and melee them. It doesn't really matter, but we're going to take cover behind this barricade and throw a couple grenades and then finish it off with a shotgun blast or 2. Then we're going to move up and hijack the shade turret. There's a grunt up here. We're going to kick him out and take it for ourselves and turn it against all the enemies in this area. So we could turn it against this elite, take out that other turret over there. And while we're clearing out this area, we could actually use it to bust through one of these doors on this giant turret to our left, because we have to do that eventually to go plant a bomb. And something we want to keep in mind is the fact that there is a time limit on this mission. You can see in the top center of the screen, it's counting down. So we do want to make short work of these enemies for the most part. But just hop in there. The game takes over for you. It makes you walk in and plant the bomb and walk out. You don't have to do anything with that part. But once you do get back out, you want to follow this path, just kind of loop back down to the right. And we're going to come up over here and throw a few grenades at this turret. Behind it is another gigantic turret that we need to bust open one of the doors and plant a bomb inside of it like we just did on the previous one. So we're going to go over down here and grab a few more plasma grenades from the crate lying on the ground here. Cut back up, and we're going to use these plasma grenades to blow open one of the doors on the turret. And I'm just waiting here because I see those fusion cores are about to blow up, so I'm just kind of waiting there. They went up, and I'm going to now move forward and engage these guys. To start the mission, your default armor ability is a regeneration field, so you can see I deployed that here to get my shield back up. You could also deploy it preemptively if you haven't taken any damage yet, but you sense you're about to take a lot of damage. You could always deploy it just to make sure it stays up. So we safely busted through that door while we were in the regeneration field, then went in, planted the bomb, came out, took out that brute and elite. And at this point, since the 2 bombs have been planted, there will be no more enemies that spawn into this mission, except for this Wraith right here. So he comes to the door shield once the 2 giant turrets are taken out. But we could easily grab a plasma pistol from one of the many grunts we've killed in this mission. And if you hold the trigger down, it will actually charge up your shot. So when you do shoot it and it connects with a vehicle, it will actually stun that vehicle. So you could easily walk up to it and hijack it after that. So that's what we've done here. And now we could take out all the enemies in this area with the Wraith. Unfortunately, it's kind of blocked in, so you can't really take it throughout the rest of the mission, but we could take out all the enemies we could reach at least. And then we'll just move over here to where we can't reach with the Wraith and take out all the remaining enemies. You can see on your radar where the remaining enemies are. So they're up here. We're going to go over here. Looks like another grunt hopped into this turret that we were in the beginning of the mission. So we'll just hijack it one more time, use it against any of the remaining enemies, and once the whole mission is clear of enemies, the mission will finish, and that is all for that one. So on to the next one. This one is fairly easy. You're in a giant grizzly tank for the duration of the mission, hopefully, if it doesn't blow up. But you have a tremendous amount of firepower with this thing, so it's pretty easy to just blow through this whole mission. So we're just going to start off by moving to the right. There's a bunch of enemies ahead of you that you can't see, but you could still shoot them, even though they're off-screen. The canister shells that you fire out of your main cannon with this tank, they continue past the border of the screen. So even though you can't see an enemy, you could still shoot them with your main cannon. So with that in mind, there's no real reason that you should ever stop firing. You should always just keep firing. You have unlimited ammo with this thing, so you don't have to worry about running out of bullets or shells or whatever. But with that in mind, you should also keep this machine gun going as well, the secondary gun. It doesn't have as much range as the main cannon, but obviously you have unlimited ammo with it, so there's no reason not to just keep firing it. But all you need to do to finish this mission is take out the 4 mega turrets. We took out the first one right off the bat. The second one is right here in the middle of the map. We just took it out. You could either go down to the left like I did, or you could wrap around it to the right. I like to go to the left because I feel like that's a safer path. And also the third turret is right there as well, so we just took that one out pretty easily. And you can see I have the majority of my health in this grizzly tank still. That's partially because I took the safer route. That's also because I keep moving. You never really want to just sit still because then you're an easy target. A sitting duck, if you will, because there's a bunch of shade turrets, there's a bunch of fuel rod turrets, a bunch of wraiths, a bunch of the mega turrets. Obviously, there's 4 mega turrets on this map that shoot at you. So you never really want to be sitting still. Even if you have to hold your position in a general area, you always want to kind of keep moving either in a loop or back and forth or something. Never just sit still. But we're going to continue on through this mission. And obviously, you want to prioritize your targets. The big wraiths and fuel rod cannons you want to take out first. Suicide grunts could be an issue too, but remember that you could shoot things that you can't even see, so as you move forward throughout this mission, you should just keep firing. You'll probably be able to take out a lot of enemies before you could even see them, and then it's a lot safer for you to move forward. But we're approaching the end here. The 4th and final mega turret is right here. There's also a handful of jackals along with an elite. And once you blow up the mega turret, you don't really need to kill any other enemies. You don't need to kill any enemies at all in this mission except for the 4 mega turrets. So once you kill a turret, you could really just bail out of your tank and just sprint to the end because the armor ability you have by default in this mission is sprint, which isn't easily noticeable when you're in the tank the whole time. But you could use it right at the end here to just sprint past these remaining enemies and finish the mission quickly. But on to the next one, F3. We're going to use our plasma repeater from a good distance. You can see I'm taking these guys out fairly easily and pretty safely because I'm not closing the gap really. But once we do kind of clear a little path, we could go and hijack this shade turret to use against the remaining enemies in this area. And it's kind of tough to hit some of the enemies from far away because there's a lot of rocks and barricades to hide behind. But you could take your time. There's no time limit here. And then we could move forward once we clear out everybody. I'm going to take out that shade turret just so nobody hops in it later. And I'm going to do the same for this one. It's not totally necessary, but I like to do it. Better safe than sorry. And I actually left a couple enemies alive because they were behind cover and I didn't feel like waiting for them to move within range. So I just hopped out, and I'm going to take them out with this plasma repeater here from a long distance, like I did earlier in the beginning of the mission. And then I'm going to exchange my needler for a plasma pistol. They could be found throughout the map with all the grunts you just killed. So grab one of those. I also exchanged my armor ability for the regeneration field here. So now I have a regeneration field and a plasma pistol at least, and I also have my plasma repeater still. And then once you lead your engineer to that control panel, you have to defend him for like 20 seconds. It's not long at all. He should just survive on his own, really. But I'm going to keep an eye on him for a little bit and distract/kill any of the enemies that come near him. But the engineer's fine. He's got full health with 3 seconds left, and we're going to just hang out over here on the edge of this bridge. The bridge will activate after this countdown timer that just popped up, 1 minute 15 seconds remaining. And we're just going to hold out. There's a bunch of waves of enemies that come at you. But standing here is actually a very good spot because most of the enemies either ignore you or when they do come over here, it's actually very easy to take them out and defend your position. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just standing here waiting for any enemies to come near us, and then we could choose to engage them or possibly not. Sometimes they just kind of look at you, and you could look back at them and just admire each other from afar. I tried to throw a grenade at that elite, but it looks like I accidentally locked onto one of the drones coming up over the cliffside here. The drones are easy to take out. Once they come up over the cliff, they usually fly right at you, and you could just smack them once to kill them. And most of the enemies on foot don't really close the gap that well, and when they do, you could throw a grenade at them, or you could shoot them, obviously. And there's also this marine buddy of yours helping you out here, too, so that is a big help. But so far, so good, just maintaining our position, smacking these buggers as they come up at us. You can see that's the majority of the enemies we'll face, because you can see all the dead buggers on the ground here. But that's what we'll keep doing. Here's an elite and jackal to make things interesting. We'll throw a grenade at the elite, and we have another elite coming at us, but that's all right with us. We have more nades, so we dished one out to him. He threw one at us, though. And remember that you have your regeneration field, so I threw that down since he threw a nade at me. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't get too low on health, so I threw it down preemptively, or too low on shield, rather. So I threw it down, kind of a defensive move there to keep my shield up while that nade was near me. So remember, that's always an option. If you're ever low on shield, you could throw that down, and once the countdown timer hits 0, we're going to go across this bridge that activates, and there's a handful of infantry that moves across, including suicide grunts. So take those guys out quickly. And we're going to use the plasma pistol that we picked up in the beginning of this mission to stun the Wraith with an overcharge burst. And then we'll just walk right past him to the nav point to finish the mission. You could try to do that without stunning him, but then he tries to splatter you, so it's a little safer to stun him first. But on to the next mission. And we're going to start this mission by going to the left. There's a bunch of sword-wielding elites in this area and throughout the whole mission, so we're just going to run past them for the most part, ignore them entirely. Then we're going to cloak ourselves about here and hijack this turret. So we're going to knock this guy out and turn this against the enemies here. So we're going to rotate this thing around and take out any of the nearby enemies that are an immediate threat to us. And then we're going to turn our attention to the big glowing orb in the bottom left of the screen. Take that out. It takes 5 shots. And then after that blows up, you can just totally ignore all the enemies in this area and just turn around and go back the way we came. We're going to continue to ignore all the enemies in the area. There's a bunch of sword-wielding elites because we did not do anything about them when we first came through here. Just keep ignoring them. They might chase you, but just keep running. There's some grenades in that crate right there, so pick those up on the way. And as you go on this path, there's going to be a bunch of buggers that spawn in, but we could totally ignore them for the most part. You can see that's what happened there. We're going to go down over here and more will spawn in, and we're going to cloak ourselves right about now and move over here to this orb and take this orb out with 4 plasma grenades. And you want to make sure that as you're throwing these 4 grenades at this orb that you're kind of circling to the right. And by circling to the right while you're throwing these grenades, it will keep you from getting shot for the most part. And then we could easily mop up these buggers with a shotgun blast or 2, or you can melee them. Then I like to move up and to the right, and I'm going to cloak myself as I come over this bridge, and I'm going to stick this guy. Usually I just like to move past him, but since he was so oblivious to me being there, I decided to just stick him easily. And I usually ignore these buggers as well, but in the spirit of sticking that elite, I decided to just take out those buggers real quick too. And again, usually I go straight to the final orb to the right, but I just wanted to show you this little spot. It's a pretty good spot to regain your active camo if you're being chased by elites or buggers. It's a spot that usually if you go to, a lot of people don't follow you. But now we're going to make our way to the 3rd and final orb over here. We're going to throw 4 grenades at it like we did with the previous one. You can see there's a crate of grenades I just picked up there, and now we're just chucking them at the final orb. It's blown up, and now we could ignore all of the enemies that would have spawned over there. And we're going to move over here to the final part of the mission. So we skipped most of the enemies throughout this mission, but we actually do need to take out the last group of enemies at the end here. So I'm going to hop into this turret. Sometimes it's empty, sometimes there's an enemy in it, but you could just hijack it if that's the case. And I cloaked myself before approaching it so I could easily do so. And I'm going to turn it against all of the enemies in this area. And the one thing you want to watch out for is the health of this turret, because you're pretty surrounded if you just hop in right away. And you could easily get naded a bunch of times and have this thing blow up on you. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on that. And if you do get pretty weak, or if your turret gets pretty weak, that you want to bail out of that thing before it blows up. And then, of course, take out any of the remaining enemies and then go to these last nav points and the mission will end. Here we are in the last mission, in the last operation. I like to quickly take out one of the elites up here with a grenade. So I'll do that like so. And then I'll mop up the grunts with the SMGs here that I have. And then I'll just take out the other elite with any type of gun, either AR or SMG. It doesn't really matter. But I do like to only use 1 grenade on the elites. I don't like to use 2 because I like to save those for later. But I'm going to grab the grenade that he dropped. I'm going to leave those grenades on the left in that crate. I'm going to go grab these on the right. And then we're going to go lead the engineer to his little home that he's going to live in. And we're just going to hang out right next to him. We only have to defend him for like 20 seconds. And there's a bunch of drones that spawn in from the hole in the middle of the map here. So we could just smack them right as they come up. And they don't really present too much of a threat because we could just kill them right as they spawn in. So we could defend this guy easily enough. There are a handful of grunts that will come in from the bottom left or right and sometimes from the top, as we could see here. And then as soon as the clock hits 0, we're going to turn our attention to the orb on the right here. We're going to throw 4 plasma grenades at it real quick to take it out very fast. And then we're going to go up here to the top right. There is another crate of grenades. We're going to grab some grenades out of that. And then we're going to use these grenades to blow up the orb in the top middle here. So we're going to throw 4 plasma grenades at this orb to blow it up. And there are 2 more grenades in the crate right here. So we're going to grab those in a second right there. And then we're going to move down. And this is the 3rd and final orb that we need to blow up. And sometimes you could blow it up quickly. Sometimes you can't. You could see that since the grunts are so close, whenever I throw a grenade, it locks onto them. So I'm just going to move away from this, grab the grenades out of that crate, and then we're going to make a beeline to this little corner over here by the first orb that we blew up. This is a very safe place to be for the most part. You could spend a lot of time in here without taking much damage, and it wastes a lot of time because the enemies aren't exactly sure how to deal with you since you're kind of in the corner here. They spend a lot of time just looking at you and trying to figure out how to get in there. But you'll find that they sometimes throw grenades, so you do want to watch out for that. If you see them winding up, you want to be ready to dodge out of the way. You can see I dodged that first grenade pretty well, but not so much the second one. And now there's a bunch of enemies bunching up here, so I'm just going to run to the other side of the map and then hang out over there for a little bit. So basically I'm going to run to the left, stay there for a little bit, wait for the enemies to bunch up, and then run to the right, and just keep doing that so it kind of thins out the enemies. It wastes a lot of time. And the first time we run back over here, we're obviously going to take out this orb because we need to do that before the time runs out. But now I'm just going to kind of hold out over here for as long as I can until I'm kind of overrun. And then I'll just sprint back to the other position we were holding out on the right side of the map if I'm feeling overwhelmed over here. So you could easily take out the grunts with SMGs or your assault rifle. You want to watch out for the elites and jackals, though, and sometimes a brute chieftain will spawn in as well towards the end. You want to watch out for those guys because they could really overwhelm your position quickly. But we're just going to hang out as long as we can here. You can see I threw a grenade at that invisible elite over there. He is definitely a priority you want to watch out for. And I just tried to take out that grunt with a melee, but he started backing up, and now there's a jackal moving in on me. So I'm going to run to the other side. I'm starting to get overrun here. Jackals are tough to take out quickly. One way to take him out quickly would be with grenades, but I don't really want to waste my one last grenade on him at this point. So I'm just going to run over here to this other safe point. This is a good spot because you could not only shoot the people coming from below, but you could also shoot people coming from above through this shield door especially. So you could see that is very helpful right here. For the most part, when you're in here, you don't really have to worry about getting shot, but you do have to worry about the nades And also you have to worry about any enemies that are coming in to melee you. So if an elite or a brute chieftain comes at you, or if a suicide grunt comes from below, you want to be able to step out and take out that suicide grunt really quickly. But it looks like they're all coming from above right now, the suicide grunts at least. But this guy's wrapping around. I'm going to step out, try to take him out before he gets within range of me, but it looks like I took some damage. So I'm going to sprint to the other side now, since all of the enemies are now on the right for the most part. We can see this area is pretty clear now. There's a suicide grunt coming up at us, but we'll just take him out real quick. And we'll hang out here for a little bit, just going back and forth, getting the enemies to go to one side, then going to the other. And you can see there's a ton of enemies right there, so I'm going to use my grenade because I could hopefully kill 3 jackals. I only took out 2, though. I was hoping for that triple jackal, but we're going to move over here now because we're getting chased. And there's an elite still chasing us pretty quickly, so we're going to throw a grenade. If he kept coming, it would have stuck him. And if he stopped chasing us, that would also be a good outcome. So remember that we're just trying to burn time here. We're not really worried about killing as many people as possible, as much as we're worried about staying safe and burning that time. So we hit 0. And you can't cross the hard light bridge here until it actually forms, and that takes about 5 more seconds after it hits 0. So you'll just be a sitting duck if you try to cross prematurely. So you want to wait 3 to 5 more seconds after it hits 0 before you try to cross, so that way you're not an easy target and die right at the end, which would suck. But with that said, that's the final mission and the final operation. Congratulations on beating Spartan Assault, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found that video helpful, be sure to click on the scorpion icon to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. You could also check out some related guides by clicking on the videos on screen, and you could find links in the description for other social media links of mine. Stay tuned for more Halo guides, and I'll see you in the next one.